Hi crafters, this is Crafty Sabby and I'm here today to share another video with you as kind of a follow-up to a past video of mine, the vintage bags. I think it's called vintage bags. It was a tutorial. So I've been getting a lot of questions about what I've done with my bags and how I've used them. And so I'm going to show a couple ideas I had for the ones I made. And then I have a couple other things I want to show you. And maybe if we have enough time, I don't know if this will be one video or two, but I'd like to do another tutorial on some of these little guys that I made just by cutting the paper and folding them and how I use them. So before we get into that, I just want to go back to answer the question about how I used the bags that I made. And let me just, these were the bags. I didn't make them. I bought them and then trimmed them down and stamped them myself. So you can go over and watch that video if you haven't. And so what I used mine for were, there's only a couple things so far. So as you may or may not know, I have a giveaway coming up and it's happening right now. I have a video on that. And so one way that I used my paper bags was to package up some of the giveaways. This is a regular paper bag, like a lunch bag that you get at Walmart. And so is this. And so what I did with these ones, these are not necessarily, you know, the ones that I stamped, but you could do the same sort of idea. So there are gifts in here right now. So what I did for these was, I took some glycine bags, and these were already pre-made. Some were pre-made, some I cut down myself. Here they are. And all I did was I took some napkins that I bought. These are from my local dollar store. And you can get, you know, any kind. And usually napkins come 3-ply. And so I peel down my napkins right down to 1-ply, which has the decorative part on the top. And so simply I Mod Podge that image to the glycine bag. And then this is what I end up with. So, I don't know how well you can see that. So here's a bunch of them here. So this is just a bag that I purchased from my craft store. And I Mod Podged my paper napkin on top. And so that is another way that you can dress up the paper bag without having to do too much. So get your old napkins out, tear them up, and Mod Podge them to these bags, and it's such a great idea. And again, you know, packaged up, they look super sweet. I just added a doily and a flower to that one, and that's how it looks. And this is the other package that's going out. So super easy, super fun. So kind of getting back to another way that I used the ones that I made was, this is, okay, this is part of a junk journal that I'm making. So what you could do is kind of like this idea here. There's a glycine bag in there. You know, we've already been kind of doing this already. And so I would just simply do the same thing if I wanted to add one of mine. You know, I could just do the same thing. Fold this in half. I may trim off this edge just so that I could have two open ends. Tuck it in there. And then once I sew my book together, I will have a nice tuck spot right there, or lots of room for, you know, adding extra ephemera or whatever the case. And then that will be the other side. And if you cut that open, you'll have another pocket there. So I hope that helps answer some of the questions that were out there in regards to how I was using the bags I made. So just moving on, I got all caught up in making these bags and envelopes now that I wanted to make some of my own for my journals. It's very hard to find sizes that you may need for your journals, so I created my own. I measured and I cut them down, and are these not like the cutest little... It looks exactly like a paper sack, like a full-size one, but it's itty-bitty. It's like 2 1/8 by 3 1/4 big. And what I did was I used, to make those ones, I used some vintage, iron-on transfers, or... I love the paper, I love the sound, I love the feel. So I actually doubled it up, cut it down to the size that I needed, and then created these tiny little... And again, I would use these in my journal and put tags inside of them, glue down the one side onto the page, and then put tags or something inside of there. So that's that size. These ones are a little bit bigger, a smaller gusset on the side, and same kind of thing. This one is not, I didn't distress them, but this is how they look distressed. And that's the next size up. And then I made a little bit bigger one. So again, this is all out of vintage book paper. This is music paper. And these, how are they look? Distressed. So what I thought I would do is just quickly show you how I did them. And I have some measurements, and we can go through a few of them, and I will also post all of the measurements in the description box below so that you don't have to go crazy while we're making them, writing everything down. So let's get started. We'll start with the smallest one, so this one here. And I'm just going to make them out of white copy paper. This way you can see better. And you can go ahead and make them out of anything you want, any kind of paper. And so what you're going to need is a piece of paper that measures 5 1/2 by 3 3/4. And on the 5 1/2 side, we're going to start our scoring. So you can get your scoreboard out. I'm just going to use the small one here because that's pretty much all the room that you'll need. And you'll put it in at the 5 1/2 inch side, and we'll start scoring. So we're going to score at 1 1/8. So we'll go up to 1, and I don't know how well you can see, but this first little tiny line that you see after the 1 is an 1/8. So that's where you want to be. So 1 1/8. So we'll make our first score line there. Okay. The second score line we're going to make is 1 3/8. So there's 1, and then you'll count 3/8. That's 1. 2/8 is with the dot above it, and the next one is 3. So 1 3/8, and we'll score right there. The next score line is 1 5/8. So same thing. There's 1, 1/8, 2, 3, 4, and 5/8 is right there. So the little line right after the 1 1/2 inch point, and you'll score there. Then we're going to go all the way across here to 3 3/4. So there's 3 and 1, 2, 3/4. And then the next one is at 4. And the next one is at 4 1/4. So there's 4 1/4. And that's it for the scoring. So then we're going to fold. So how I like to do it is we're going to start with the third score line in. So have it facing you this way. You can see how it kind of naturally folds up. So on the 1, 2, 3rd score line, you want to fold it in on itself, so away from you. So that was the 3rd score line. Now at the 2nd score line, so the middle one that you have there, you're going to fold it back on itself. So we're just making valleys and peaks. Okay, and then the first score line, you're going to fold it back on itself. Just like that. So when you turn it over this way, you have a valley fold. Okay? So now we just want to flip it back over and have this side facing you, and we're going to do the same thing on the third score line here. You're going to fold it on itself. And then on the second score line, you're going to fold it back on itself, back towards you. And then on the first score line, you're going to fold it back on itself. So you should have another valley right there. So this is what you should have. Okay, that's the front and that's the back. So at this point, I like to grab some adhesive. You can use whatever you like. I'm just going to use some wet glue real quick. And I'm just going to put a small bead along the edge here and seal it shut. Okay, so we're almost there. Then you can either eyeball this next part or use your scoring tool. And what we're going to do now is just make the bottom fold. So depending on how long you want yours, I'm guessing we're probably going to do about maybe about a half inch fold. So on the half-inch mark, just there, you can make a score line, or you can just fold it with your hands, depending on how big you want, how long you want your bag to be. So you just fold that up. I like to fold it up where you've made that seam on the back, just so all the messy is on the back. So you fold this up. You're going to grab your scissors and you're going to taper those bottom edges, just like we did in the last video. Okay, and then also where that seam is on the back, I'll just fix that one. I also like to trim down those flaps, so I just open it up. I just made a glue mess everywhere. And I like to trim down this stuff here. And so, sorry, that'll fold up and that'll be the, closing up our paper bag on the bottom. And so here I would just apply some glue. And that's it. And like I mentioned before, some people like that little cutout up there. Some people don't. I do. So I'm just using my Martha Stewart scallop punch, circle scallop punch. And I'm just going to make a notch right up there. And that's it. So again, I would probably use these in my journals, just to add, put a little tag in there. And that's it. Super simple. So the next size that I made was, let's see, would be this size here. Okay. This is a 4.5 by 2 3/4 size. So what you're going to need for that is a piece of paper that measures 6 by 4 1/4. And we're going to score this piece of paper 6 by 4 1/4, so the 6-inch across the top. And we're going to score at 1 1/4. So there's 1 1/4 right there. 1 1/2. There's 1 1/2. 1 3/4. So 1 2 3/4. 4 1/8. So let me show you here. There's 4, and the 1/8 will be the first little mark right after the 4. 4 3/8, so 4 1 2 3/8 is right there. And 4 5/8, so 1 2 3 4 5/8 is right there. And that's it. So that's what you should have. Okay, and again, same thing. Turn it towards you. We're going to start with the third score line up, so 1 2 3, and we're going to fold it on itself. So fold that in. The second score line, so the middle one there, you're going to fold it back towards you. And the first score line you're going to fold in on itself. Turn this around and do the exact same thing. 1 2 3, you'll fold on itself. The second score line you'll fold towards you. And the the first score line you'll fold back on itself. Okay, so that's what you should have. So again, we'll fold it over, open it up. Oops. We'll put a little bit of glue on there, seal it, and then same thing, depending on how long you want the bag. I like to fold up the bottom about 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to eyeball mine this time. Fold it up. You're going to taper those corners. And again, watching where the seam is on the back, you want to open that up and cut that flap off. I just do that to eliminate the bulk. And then get your adhesive, apply some glue, seal up the bottom, and there you go. You may or may not want to do this. I think it looks more like a bag when you do it. And so that's that size there. So again, there they are. One is just plain out of book paper, and again that'll make a 2 6/8 by 3 3/4 size bag. Okay, so that's that one. And then finally I have in this size here. This is just book paper. You will need a 7 3/4 by 5 1/8 is the size of paper that you'll need. At the 7 3/4 edge at the top of your scoreboard, we'll start scoring, and the first score mark is at 1 3/8. So there's 1, and we'll count 3/8. So 1 2 3. It'll be that third line, the one right after the one with the dot over it. So 1 2 3. And then 1 7/8. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So that's the line right before the 2. This is creating a bigger gusset. This is a 1/2 inch gusset here now. Okay, and then the next line is 2 3/8. So there's 2, 1 2 3/8 is right here. So there's another 1/2 inch gusset. Okay, so that would be 1 inch right there. And then we're going to move over to 5 1/8. So 5 and the first line after the 5 is an 1/8. And 5 5/8. So there's 1 2 3 4 5. So the line right after the 1/2. That gives you a 1/2 inch there. And then 6 and an 1/8. So there's 6, and the first line after the 6 is an 1/8, and you'll score right there. So that gives you another 1 inch between there and there. So that's it for the scoring. And that's what you should have. So same thing. We're going to go up to the 3rd score line and you're going to fold away from you. At the 2nd score line you'll fold towards you. And at the 1st score line you'll fold back on itself. You'll turn the whole thing around and we'll do it again. 3rd score line, folding on itself. 2nd score line, folding towards you. And 1st score line, folding on itself. And now that you have some dimensions, this could go really, really quick. You can make a bunch for your stash. So again, bead of glue. Seal that up. And then you can make a gusset down here, about 1/2 inch. Taper the edges. On the edge with the seal, you can just trim those down. Use some adhesive on the bottom and seal it up. And there you go. Get my trusty punch. And that's it. So I don't know if I measured this one or not. This one is about 2 3/4 by 4 1/2. So it's a nice size. So that's it. I hope this helps. I hope this gives you some new ideas, maybe to use in your junk journals. Like I said, they're great for just putting tiny little things inside. So far I've only used these ones for tags in my journals. But I thought they were really cute, and it saves a little money. You could do it yourself because most of us have paper that we're not using hanging around. And give those other bags a try. Super simple to do, just a little Mod Podge and some time and some napkins that you have hanging around. And that's it. So I hope I answered the questions in regards to what I do with my stuff, and so I hope that helped. So I hope you guys are all doing well, and we will talk to you all real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.